Carl, I won't get into the whole is Kenny Golladay washed thing because we did that last week. But I will ask you,
Sure.
Why is he still on the team today?
Because they can't afford, number one, to cut him. But number two, he could at some point, and that's, fingers are crossed, be some type of help to them. I mean, I get it. It's a results-oriented business, and he has to produce, but I don't think he forgot how to catch. And I was just as critical of him on that drop Sunday. So I'm not trying to turn him into a sympathetic figure, but I am trying to look at, some type of silver lining here, if there is one to be, and that's up to him. But he didn't forget how to catch. There's something going on, some level of a mental block or something that is in his head. And, I when I was on my podcast yesterday with Bob Papa, I said to him, I started to implore fans to be supportive. You can boo, but he needs a pat on the back right now. Darius Slayton was in a funk. Now he is their best receiver right now. And they're going to need help. Listen, the schedule gets harder, not easier after this Detroit game. They start to play the division, and I get fans get upset, and they can't make it personal because he's, number one, a really good dude, and he's not a guy that will snap at you as fans. He's cooperative. He works hard. But yes, it's results oriented. He's got to produce, but I think he needs a fan hug right now. I think he really does.
Okay.
Yeah. The problem is in New York, you got to earn that.
That's what I'm saying. I can appreciate that.
No. And the only way he can earn that is to produce, right? And I can't be upset with anybody who does not share this sentiment, but I can tell you, they're going to need as much help as they can get. And he'll get another opportunity, and he just has to take advantage of it.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong about that. That's for sure. What does that do for Odell, the conversation around Odell?
I don't think it has any impact at all. I think it's the team who's got the best opportunity to win now and the most money. I think that's the two factors that are going to come in. I don't think Odell's going to give the Giants a hometown discount. And I think the Giants are going to look at, the cost value proposition. Like they're still building. Odell is a great piece for any team if he's healthy. So you can never say you don't need him. Everybody needs an Odell Beckham. But they're going to look at their cost value and weigh that against what's available in the draft, what's available in free agency, and what the impact is on their salary cap.
I think the other thing that you have to take into account, Carl, is where this team is. I mean, if they beat the Detroit Lions and it's at home, it's a game they're, I think, going to be favored and supposed to win, the expectation has to shift. Like all of the narrative around building a culture and a new coaching staff and a methodology for winning, that's got to stop being the lead. The lead's got to be, this is a playoff team and they can do as much damage as anybody, mainly because of the nature of the NFL this year.
Yeah, and two things can be true at the same time, Tiki, because you can see even in a game like Seattle, they have to play a certain style of football, and yes, if they win this game against Detroit, you should start talking about, what their playoff opportunities are, but they know that there's only a certain way they don't have game changers, right? So they have to play, they have game changer in Saquon Barkley, but if teams start to legislate against Saquon Barkley, you got to see what else they have, and they have to do it a certain type of way. They don't have that guy who says throw it to him anyway. He's open, even when he's not. There's no Justin Jefferson or DeAndre Hopkins on the field where they feel confident that if you need a play, they're going to go get it.
Yep. So we're talking to two-time Super Bowl champ Carl Banks every Wednesday here on the Fan Tiki and Tierney Show. Carl, I know what Coach Daboll's saying. I get it. We have Julian Love every Tuesday. I was pushing him yesterday, having fun. Hey, let's talk playoffs, man. And he was able to avoid that public pitfall. But I'm of the belief, to me, I think you have to embrace this in the locker room. I mean, I find it impossible to believe that these guys aren't talking about the playoffs on some level amongst themselves.
I think they allow themselves to dream a little bit, probably at home more so than in the locker room. It's when it's like playing Jenga, right? The game where you're sliding the blocks out.
I love it.
And you got to be so precise.
Yeah.
That's where they are right now. They're not in a position to say, well, we got all of these pieces in place. We're just going to, win X, start circling games on the calendar. Because even a game like Detroit, Detroit is a hard out. There's no lead that's safe against Detroit. They've been behind in every game, and they come rallying back. They play hard. They play with effort. If they play Detroit like they played parts of this Texans game, they'll lose that game.
I agree.
Because they kept the Texans doing just enough bad things to keep the Texans in the game. You do that against Detroit, they're going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, no, they definitely will because they can score points, especially if you waste possessions, well, with them. I think the biggest thing that we were looking for in this Texans game, because I think we all kind of felt like the Giants would win. They would have to play really bad for them not to, was what the Xavier McKinney injury, defensively, how they adjust. How did you see it change? Or was it different, or were they good enough even without him?
There was no change in terms of how they called the game defensively. They just put the next guy in. They put a premium, and they talk a lot about this, Joe Shane and Dable. They put a lot of premium on smart players, not just good football players, but smart players. So that gives Wink Martindale the ability to just continue to call plays because he knows that he's got players on the field that will just execute the way that they're calling it. And he doesn't have to make adjustments. And then, the other thing too, what helps is a guy like Adoree Jackson. He played lights out Sunday, and having him not having to worry about a safety having the shade one way or the other because you had Jackson on the field helps also.
I'm certainly not looking past the Lions. I agree. I think the Giants should win, but I think it's going to be a little tougher. And if they don't play a little bit better than they did against Houston, they could walk away with an L. I think every smart, objective Giant fan embraces that. So I don't want to take anything for granted, but I want to push it forward 1 week. Not so much the Giants versus the Cowboys matchup per se, but, when you talk about Dak Prescott, because he's a Cowboy, he's got a little more flash than Daniel Jones. His numbers are better as well, historically. But I got to tell you, I'm not so sure that Dak Prescott is absolutely better than Daniel Jones. Can you give me an evaluation of the two?
You're stirring it up today, huh?
I'm curious.
No, listen. You'd have to put them both in the same system to see who's better, right? Is he better than the guy that backed him up? He won. The guy who backed him up won some games too. So
Cooper Rush, yeah.
Listen. Daniel Jones is doing what he's tasked to do here in New York. He doesn't have the receiving core that Dak Prescott has. Mm-hmm. Put Dak Prescott in this system and see what happens.
That's my point. I don't think it would be nearly as good as it is now with Daniel Jones.
We can't measure Daniel Jones against Dak with Dak's receivers.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. Listen. I don't understand the rankings of quarterbacks beyond the top 4 or 5 guys in this league because there's a reason why those guys are head and shoulders better than the rest of the pack. And when people say, well, you get rid of this guy, what are you going to replace him with? Another average guy? Another above average guy?
Yeah.
You're not getting Patrick Mahomes, right? The next guy coming, I can tell you right now, is
Tua?
Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, yeah.
He's next. But, these guys, there's a reason why first rounders flame out all the time.
Yeah.
That's why Sam Darnold can't get on the field. And,
Baker Mayfield can't get on the field. Same squad, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They have P.J. Walker starting at quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. And look, for quarterbacks, it does matter about who's around you. And we talked about this with Tua and Jalen, not Jalen Brown. Jalen Hurts down in Philadelphia. It matters who's around you. But given what's not around Daniel Jones, has he done enough to continue to be the quarterback? We're only, we're halfway through it ish. But has he done
He's
enough?
going to be the quarterback this season.
No, I mean, talking about going forward. Let's project this forward.
Well, he's proven that he can cook with the ingredients in the house, right? Now they'll have some budget to do some shopping. So it just comes down to whether he can be better with better ingredients. And I believe he can. And I think that was part of the evaluation process for Daniel Jones. Look, here's what you got.
Yep.
Make a meal. And he's doing it all but one quarter this year. So I would say if you measure that against what's available and what's coming out in the draft, I think he has a pretty good shot of returning.
All right, so, Carl, we got about, 20 seconds here or so. I never put you on the spot for a score. You do the game, so I don't even know if you're okay with that. But, is this more of a high-scoring game, which would favor the Lions, or do you think the Giants are able to keep this thing more in the neighborhood of 20-17, 23-20? Score-wise, neighborhood, what are you feeling? What are you sensing?
I think the Giants will play to their profile. If it's 20-plus points, great. I don't know if he's going to get in the 30s.
Yep.
Because I don't think the Giants play that way unless, they're down a couple scores. But I just think they'll play to their profile.
All right. There he is, Carl Banks, two-time Super Bowl champ. Obviously, the analyst here for the Giants on the Fan, home of the Giants. So go get another win, man. Keep stacking them.
We'll see.
All right, Carl.
Appreciate you, Carl.
That didn't sound
Thanks,
too
man.
That didn't sound too confident. We'll see.
I mean,
What is that, Carl?
Detroit gets after
Give it
it a little
more
bit.
than that.
Jared Goff is having
We'll
a
see.
decent season.